Now in front of me now I have Lynn Harnedy, and she's with AidLink, and just you can look it up if you want to find out about it. We're going to find a little bit about it, but if you want to find all about it, look up aidlink.ie. Good afternoon, Lynn, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Tell us all about AidLink.
Okay, AidLink is an international development organisation. It's been in existence for about 30 years. They're celebrating their 30th birthday next year. And what we do is we work through partnership with local organisations in Kenya and Uganda and Ghana. And I suppose what's unique about AidLink is that we believe that local organisations are best placed to empower the communities that they work in and to work with, generally rural, poor people in those communities to bring about positive changes in their lives. We've been around for 30 years. It's been a long history. We've been adapting and changing over time in order to, improve the quality of our programs and to get in line with international best practice. But the one thing that has remained a constant throughout all of that is our approach, working through partnership. So back 30 years ago, we started out working with a few, and we ended up working with up to 70 different organisations in over 17 countries across the globe. But a few years ago, they decided to, in order to maximise the impact that we were creating, that we should streamline our support. So now we just support 6 partners. But what we do is we really, really build their capacity and work with them on a day-to-day basis and support them with their strategic planning, so that they can work better with their communities to respond to their needs. Mm-hmm. So on the ground, what we actually do is we work in, say, 4 main areas, which are water and sanitation, health, education, and agriculture and food security. And generally what we do is we work in an integrated nature. So we will work in one particular area where, say, the poverty levels are very, very high. The human development indicators are quite low. They require a lot of support. So our partners will choose people in a certain community, and we will deliver, say, water and sanitation in schools and work with communities to improve their own home hygiene. And then with that, we might work with the farmers, because we generally work in areas where there's rural poverty, and work, say, on education initiatives in school as well.
You get a lot of the information from the people themselves. I mean, you can go in and see some of the things, but you get a lot of it from the people themselves. They tell you what their needs are as well. So it will work hand in hand in that way. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely what we're all about, and the local partners are on the ground, so they pick up all of that information. And I think that's one of the strengths of our programme, really. The partners have very, very strong links with the local leaders in the communities, and we found that it is very important to have the support of the local leaders if you're going to achieve anything in a lot of these places. And also that, they'd have strong connections at the district level and to a lesser extent, say, at national level. But it is really all about the people from the local communities.
Okay, well, everything needs some sort of funding. So how are you funded?
We get most of our funding from Irish Aid. They fund 70% of our programme. And then we do fundraising initiatives. We this year participated in the mini marathon. And, say, Blackrock College have been involved in fundraising for us for a number of years, because they were involved in the foundation of AidLink back 30 years ago. So they run the St. Patrick's Day badge campaign for us. And also some staff groups would provide us with a lot of support. So the Bank of Ireland staff group and the ESB have another staff group that would give us quite a lot of funding. So that's basically how it all comes together.
Education, and especially for girls over there as well, is that one of the main functions as well? Yeah.
Absolutely. One of our partners in Kenya, they're based, say, south of Nairobi, in the Maasai land. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Maasai land, but basically anyone who goes to Kenya will probably come in contact with the Maasai there.
It's outside Dublin, I don't know about it.
Well, they're known for being very tall. They jump, and kind of like a rite of passage for the boys to become men would be to kill a lion. So they're quite famous, in their own right, considering there's, thousands of tribes all across
to be a home in
Africa.
Temple Bar, so really,
exactly.
We'll just have a great time here as well. So it's part of it, the education, as I'm saying, tilling the land and all that sort of thing, it'll be all part of it. Sort of self-sufficiency.
Yeah, that is a big part of it. But with our program, say in this area in Kenya, girls in particular and women are treated very, very poorly in society. So, say men and boys would kind of come top of the food chain, and then actually animals would come next, and then finally girls come on the bottom rung. So, what our program is all about is getting girls into education, because they're basically seen as an asset in the community. The families will get a dowry if their daughters are married to another family.
I understand. Sorry, I understand you don't want to change culture in a country. I really understand that. But at the same time, over the years, has things not changed? Can they not see something like that? I mean, we have become to see that. I mean, we had our own economic minister in the home where our mothers from many, many years ago who were fantastic with the little that they had, and they stretched it as well. So without, as I say, changing the culture in any way, are they beginning to accept that there should be a little bit of equality and opening up a little bit?
I mean, slowly but surely, yes. And, well, actually, I mean, I know we want to respect culture, but we do believe that some cultural practices can be quite harmful, like the practice of, say, female genital mutilation, for example, which is practiced on the majority of the girls in the Maasai land. It's up to like 90%. So what happens is they're circumcised to kind of ensure their chastity and, you know, ensure their virginity, really. And that will fetch a higher bride price for the girls. So it's, you know, all connected to money, but also, you know, it's very controlling on the girls. And we absolutely don't, AidLink does not accept that. And this practice is condemned like across the globe by you know, human rights conventions.
These are all the things you have to deal with on the ground before you can even start to help.
Exactly. So what we're doing is we're tackling this through the education programme. So basically, if girls are kept in school for longer, they're much less likely to be circumcised, and they're much less likely to be married off at a younger age. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to tackle what we'd call, say, harmful cultural practices through this education programme. So
it's a slow process, though.
It is a slow process, absolutely. But I mean, change can't come about, as I was saying earlier, before the Maasai would kill lions, you know, as a rite of passage, but they cannot do that anymore because, well, it's illegal for a start, but also, I mean, you know, lions and wildlife are one of the main reasons why people go to Kenya, and tourism is a massive industry there. So, you know, through education, they have stopped that, and now they have like alternative rites of passage, which might, you know, involve slaying a goat or something. So similarly, with the practice of FGM, they're looking at, say, alternative rites of passage and, say, less invasive forms of circumcision. And I mean, our ultimate goal is to achieve the abandonment of the practice completely, but it is a slow process.
It's rather a quagmire when you think about it, but after 30 years of it, is it a little bit easier now to deal with the people? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the systems have been built up, the connections are made. Our partner there, AidLink's partner, the Girl Child Network, are very, very well known in the community, and they work with school management committees, and they work with the parents, and they work with the local leaders. So what we found is the communities are now beginning to support the abandonment of the practice. So in the areas where we've been running this education program, the incidences of female genital mutilation have actually dropped by 20%, which is a fantastic achievement in itself. There's still a long way to go, but that is a great achievement, because this program actually started only 5 years ago, this particular program. So within 5 years, that is.
Okay, another thing I want to talk about is the school feeding program. Now, I mean, drought is a big problem across Africa as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think I painted the picture that it's already difficult for girls in these communities to get a basic education. We're talking primary level education to begin with. But in the drought, it becomes even harder because families are under pressure. The Maasai as well are actually nomadic pastoralists. So, you know, traditionally they're nomadic. They will go in search of water and in search of food. So in the drought, when there is no water and food available in their local areas, they will go. And when the families go, the children are taken out of school. So it severely impacts on their levels of education. So what we're doing in response to this, to keep people in school and keep them in their own local communities, is we're running a school feeding program. So it doesn't just feed the students, it also feeds the mothers and keeps them in school, and it basically mitigates the effects of the drought, because generally in a drought anyway, what you want to do is keep people in their own local communities, because once they leave, the chances of survival just get lower and lower and lower. So the best response is to support them in staying in their own community.
And it's amazing. I'm just looking at the three countries. I know you go into more, but Uganda, Kenya and Ghana, like the different needs in the different areas is amazing, isn't it? They're really worlds apart, and yet so on the same continent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, Africa's a huge continent in itself, and the focus of our development work would be in Kenya and in Uganda and in Kenya and Uganda, and Ghana then is over on the west side, and we just work with one partner there, but we also do a development education program there, where boys from St. Mary's College in Rathmines go over every second year to attend school in Ghana. And this year, for the first time, a group of girls from Galway went over to Ghana to go to school there. And actually this year also, for the first time, a group of boys from Ghana came to Dublin. So that's also very much follows the philosophy of AidLink.
Must be quite a culture shock for them as well. What sort of reaction? I mean, I've talked to students before who've gone to work abroad like that as well, and it's total, as I said, a total culture shock, and it seems to change them and their lifestyle and the way they think as well. Have you found that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were very cold when they came, but it was what we just wanted, to bring them here, to immerse them, essentially. And that's the same as what happens to the Irish students when they go to Ghana. And that is literally what happens. They just learn from their environment. I think we're very shocked at how developed we were, how privileged we were. We have all of these things, like water, basic health facilities, all of these things are just taken for granted here. And I think they were actually one just very simple example of, I suppose, how different we are in terms of development is that they couldn't understand the cups of coffee. When you get a latte from your deli or from your local coffee shop to take away, they thought that this was the biggest waste of money they'd ever seen in their whole lives.
I often get the feeling when I'm walking around town and I see people walking with the cups in their hands, if they hadn't got one, their arm would fall off. I don't know.
I know.
It's part of the anatomy now. That's the way it seems to work. Anyway, we're talking about AidLink, and it's aidlink.ie if you want to find out all about it and the work they do. And finally, is there anything else you want to tell me, or are you doing any fundraisers coming up? Or
well, we have an appeal out at the moment to support the drought, because actually the rains generally come in East Africa and around autumn time and again in spring. So according to the weatherman, there will be no rain this autumn. So they think that the next harvest will actually be in about 18 months' time.
Wow.
So this drought isn't really going anywhere anytime soon. So we do have an appeal out. You can access more information on our website, but it's to support the school feeding programme, and also to support, we have a food for work programme in the north of Kenya in a place called Turkana. And that's kind of being run alongside our, say, agricultural activities, because this place is a desert, and while there's drought now, they experience recurrent droughts all the time. And we do a lot of work around water and agriculture initiatives there. So we basically build these massive dams and earth pans, and literally in one day of rain, these can fill up and provide the communities with water for like 6 to 8 months. Because it very, very rarely rains, so you have to adapt to that sort of climate. So there we do a lot of work to mitigate the effects of the drought, but now we just have to scale up on those initiatives because it is a crisis. Okay,
and what sort of help are you looking for? Is it just funding, or is there any other practical help people can give? Is that the best thing they can do? And how do they do it indeed?
Well, you can donate online through our website, or just call up the office, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you. I mean, we're quite a small organisation, so you can have one-on-one contact with any of the staff members there. And I suppose if you were interested in getting involved with AidLink and maybe helping out in another way, I would suggest ringing up the office and we could set up something.
Okay, that's, as I say, it's aidlink.ie. I don't want to be facetious in any way, but all that time you're talking about water and how they preserve it and all that with sort of minimum amount of rain. And just up to our left, we have the county council office. Maybe you could get someone over to teach them how they could conserve all the rain we get through the year as well, because it seems to dry up and go to waste for some reason or other. Anyway, Lynn Harnedy, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And that was Lynn Harnedy, and she's from AidLink. And you can look up aidlink.ie for any more information you want on that.